is up, guys? Malcolm here from Majestic Skies Visual Effects. And in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to create a simple yet quite robust ragdoll within Blender 2.8 in under 10 minutes. So we're going to start by creating a new scene. We're going to delete our default light and default camera just by selecting them and hitting X and then deleting them. We're going to hit 1 to go into front view. We're going to keep our default cube here. We're going to hit G and then Z to constrain that to the Z axis. We're going to just move it up to our liking there. That's good. Now we're going to go into the physics panel and we're going to add a rigid body physics for this cube here. Now we're going to duplicate this cube, hit Shift D, pull it down on the Z axis just by hitting Z after duplicating it. Now we're going to hit S to scale, and we're just going to scale this down just a little bit. Now we're going to go into the side view here basically and go SY and hit 0.3, and that should be a good size. Maybe a little bit bigger would be good, right about there. Alright, so that'll give us a nice frame for the body. I'm just going to position that where we want it. Now we're going to duplicate that again, hit Shift D and then Z again. Shift D one last time, Z again. Now we're going to hit SZ to scale it down on the Z axis, and then put 0.3 in again. That should be a good size. Alright, so that's our main body constructed there. Now we're going to duplicate the body, or at least the upper part of the body. Hit Shift D and then X to hold that onto the X axis. We're going to hit SX 0.3 again. Okay, so we've created one arm. We're going to hit R to rotate and just position that roughly right about there. You could spend more time making this perfect, but that should be just fine. Hit Shift D, duplicate the other arm there, and just hit G and then R as well to rotate it into position. And that's good right there. Now we're going to create the legs. Shift D again, R to rotate. And we're just going to hit G to position that right where we want the first leg. Now if we select the bottom part of the leg, we can also create a foot here. Shift D and then Z again. Scale on Z to 0.3. Okay, that's our foot. Now we just want to make sure that it's also going out on the Y axis. So SY and then 2. And then we're going to pull it on the Y axis, GY, just to kind of position our foot to our liking there. Okay, so now let's I'll move that down a little bit. You want these to kind of have a somewhat similar distance just to make it look a little bit better. So I'm just hitting GZ to kind of position those how I want. Okay, perfect. Now let's select those two legs there, or that leg there, and hit Shift D and then X to hold that onto the X axis, and we got our other legs. You see, already we're done modeling our character there. So now let's go ahead and attach all these, because right now it is actually dynamic. Like these will all fall. However, they're not falling as one linked or connected object. They're falling as kind of separate objects. So in order to connect them together, what we're going to do is start adding in some empties. We're going to hit Shift A, add in an empty plane axis. And we're going to hit GZ and position that right in between the head and the upper body there. Now under the physics panel for this empty, we're going to select a rigid body constraint, and it's important you make sure to change the type from fixed to point. We're also going to want to deselect disable collisions, which will allow them to each collide together, each of these constrained objects. That's all we're going to do for now, and now we're going to start just basically duplicating this a bunch of times. So hit Shift D, and we're going to position each of these duplicates between each of these basically gaps where we want these objects to be connected. So, just hit Shift D each time and just position them where they need to be, just kind of in between each of those points there. So just take a minute or two to do, not too long of a process. Also grab these ones here to kind of speed it up just by hitting Shift D on both of them and then hitting Z to hold it onto the Z axis, and there we go. We just created all those much more quickly. Okay, so now we've got all our constraints done, and now what we're going to do is start attaching these to our objects. To do that, we'll just start by selecting one, and here under the objects option for the rigid body constraint, you can see there's a first option and a second object. So what we're going to do is just select these little eyedroppers, and we're going to hit the first one to be kind of the most outermost object towards the body, and then the next one to be the most innermost. And you want to do this for each of these constraints, kind of in between connecting these two objects together for each of these. So this is the only part that's a little tedious, but it's not too bad. You just got to go through one by one. And I don't think the order actually matters that you select, but it just makes it a lot easier to remember sort of which ones you've done and which ones you haven't. So it's just like the head first, and then under the second, select the torso first with the obviously correct empty selected. So just keep doing this basically for every single one, and you do have to do each of them separately. This is a one-time thing. Once it's set up, it's set up. That's what's so cool about this. But we'll just go through here and do the last few. I think we just have to do the legs here, and that's pretty much it. So select the upper leg and then the hips there, and then lower leg first, and then upper leg for either side. And then same here, there, right there. It would probably be smart if you name these first, but just to keep this tutorial going nice and quick, we won't bother naming them. Okay, so that's it. Now basically everything's set up, believe it or not. We're pretty much done right there. What we're going to do is add in a floor, hit Shift A, Mesh Plane. We're going to hit S to scale. We're going to scale this up nice and large. Right there should be good. And we're going to add rigid body physics to that as well and set it to passive. Now if we hit play, you can see that our ragdoll is working. Yeah, so that's basically it. That's all there is to it. One thing I like to do as well is if you hit Shift A, add in an empty and then circle, and then if we just rotate that on the x-axis by 90, by hitting SX and then 90, and if we just hit GZ and just move that up on the Z-axis. Now we can also hit S to scale it the way we want, and what we're going to do is select everything except for that plane. We don't want that selected. Then select our circle last, hit Control P, parent to object. What's great about that is now we can move this around wherever we'd like, and it's much easier to deal with. The other cool thing about this, we're just going to name this here, we'll call it Ragdoll. You can see everything underneath it is parented now, and it's all pretty organized in the scene panel here. But if we right click that and select hierarchy, we can actually very quickly duplicate this as well, which is pretty cool. So if we just start duplicating this and just rotating it in random ways, you can see that just by hitting Shift D and moving these around, you can add a bunch more of these ragdolls, and when I hit play, you can see they're all going to be independently kind of dynamic from each other. So right away you can kind of see how how cool this is, and that the possibilities are kind of limitless. It's kind of up to your imagination what you want to do with these guys. If I want to add in something to kind of show a little bit more about how dynamic they are, if I go in here and just add in a UV sphere, make that a rigid body as well, right away you can see it's basically kind of being moved around by them. We don't really want that though. Let's make this passive and then animated. Now if I go right back to the beginning, if I go and just start moving this around, you can see as I'm moving it that I am affecting the little ragdolls here. So really you can do anything you'd like with these guys. It's really kind of cool what you can do, and it's cool to see them kind of all bumping into each other and interacting with every other physics object in the scene. So yeah, other than that, that's pretty much the end of the tutorial. I'll show you guys some examples of some of the cool animations I've been able to create using this method. As you can see, the one issue is that these empties are all visible. There could be a way to hide them more effectively, but and you can see they're also not staying with the object, which looks a little bit odd, but it doesn't come out in your renders though, so that won't affect anything. But yeah, like I said, I'll just show you guys some examples of some of the animations I've been able to create using this method. And other than that, I thank you guys very much for watching this tutorial, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content like this.